One time I did a job and for like 3 days I almost didn't even eat. I didn't have enough money for food. You get an award from YouTube. I heard it's a silver button, I think. When that happened, I started making more money, and I decided to go full time. I stopped doing my jobs, which was right just in the nick of time. I was doing ride sharing, and I was also doing moving jobs, and I had suffered 2 injuries on my arms just from overuse, working too much, not resting enough, or whatever. Both my arms are injured as a result, and actually the day that it really shot up, I felt my bicep tear. So I felt this, and I was like, oh my god, no. And so I just couldn't do that job anymore. And but with the YouTube going wild, just taking off like that, I was able to justify quitting. And the funny thing is, I was like, okay, it's going to go back down. That's what it always does. It goes up and then it comes down. It goes up and then it comes down. And the baseline always goes up a little bit, but always comes down significantly. So I was expecting that. Well, the next day, I got another 100,000 subscribers. What? I started thinking there's something glitch, something wrong. I was expecting YouTube to send me a message that, I'm sorry, there was a glitch in our system or whatever. You didn't really get that many. You're not getting that many views. I'm like, this can't be happening. I looked at the income for that first day that it went up, and I was expecting, a few $100s, and it was more. It was like more than double that. And I'm like, whoa. So the next day goes by. I get another 100,000 views in 24 hours. I'm at 300,000. I'm sorry, 100,000 subscribers in 24 hours. So I reached 300,000. It happened in 2 days. I got more. The next day it slowed down a little bit. I only got 50,000 subscribers. And it slowed down more. I only got 25,000. And it started slowing down more. Now I get like 10,000 a day, which is phenomenal. Remember how long it took me to get 10,000? The first 10,000. um, In the income, I'm not going to even mention the numbers. I was just like, it was far more than I expected. Something that happened when I hit 100,000 was that the value, I guess the advertisers are paying more. I'm getting like the higher end advertisers. So, so instead of getting like a 20th of a penny per view, it went up to like well, some of my lower videos were as low as the 20th. It was more like an average of like a tenth of a penny. So it's gone up to like over more than half a penny. I think that's what it's at. Yeah, something like that. So, anyways,
But a significant increase.
it's a compounding increase because not only did the amount per view go up, but also the number of views. So it has this huge compounding effect, and and so that it was just completely life changing. I don't know how long it's gonna last. I don't, I guess I'm kind of a pessimist, or I prefer to call myself a realist. A lot of people will tell me I'm negative or whatever. And I'm like, no, I know reality, what happens, and it's happened to many actors. They're at the top of the world, and then the next thing they're at the bottom. It's a business can collapse, and there's many people that are doing driving for Uber now, and they used to make tens of thousands of dollars a month. There's people like that. So what happened? So I'm very cautious. And it's not going to really change my life. I'm going to continue living the way I do. I eat eggs, cheap eggs and potatoes and tortillas as a basic staple of my eating, and I still eat that way. There's no reason to change it if it's been working.
What has changed?
The things that have changed have been, whereas before I was always looking at, because I had to do a certain number. I'm doing ride sharing, so I had to do a certain number of rides or make a certain amount of money per week in order to just get by. And most of the time it was like 50, 60 hours of driving, which was killing me physically because just the sitting is so bad for you. And I just dreaded doing that. And so So now I don't have that weight upon me, that worry. I'm not thinking about, oh, the bills, let's see, how much do I have to pay next month? I mean, that was always in my mind. I'm like, how much do I have to pay next month? And so I gotta, oh shoot, if there's an unexpected expense that comes up, then I'm like, I gotta drive 10 hours more. I'm like, life just got so pointless. That I had a lot of depression. I really just wanted to just escape, just leave everything behind many, many times. I was just really done with it. Um, and I realized that those times could come back. You know, my focus now is to take care of the priorities for my family and stuff and necessities and now I'm thinking more because a lot of people thought I was rich. They believed I was rich because they see me travel or whatever, not realizing that it was like for work, or I was living in Mexico on living on $500 a month. you know, I learned to be very frugal and to live on just basic. The way I would travel was brutal. Many of the trips that I did for work out of town, I didn't stay in hotels. Many times I camped. I have slept along the Potomac River when I worked in Washington, D.C., spent nights there. Out in Austin, Texas, I spent a few nights in a park under an oak tree. I was getting bitten by mosquitoes. This was because my job, it didn't pay for your expenses or anything. You got paid for the job, and that was it. How you traveled and everything was up to you. And so I camped out in the woods in the suburbs of Chicago in I would make like a little kind of like a hammock. I would take some wood I found and weave like a hammock bed. And I spent nights out there, multiple nights out in the forest. And then I would go to work in the morning doing the ultrasound modeling. And I did that kind of stuff. I've spent nights in airports many, many times. And those were the worst places because you can't sleep. It's just so much noise. It's so uncomfortable. And that was the worst place. And the Dallas airport, arrived there one time at night. And I walked to the back of the parking lot, and there was like this grassy area, and I laid down in tall grass. And that was where I spent the night until the sun came up. And then I went on and found my way to where I was going to work. In Atlanta, Georgia one time, this was a pretty sketchy one. I arrived at like 1 a.m, and it was too late to grab a train. I had a place to stay with a friend's house, but it was too late to get a train, and I was too cheap to try to to pay for a taxi or something. It would have cost quite a bit actually, and I wouldn't do that. So what I did was I just started walking. I didn't want to stay at the airport, and I had to be at work at like 5 a.m. And so I started walking. I figured I would just find some bushes to crash in. And I'm downtown, and there's like this big federal building or something, and they have like these raised concrete planters, big, huge ones, with big bushes and shrubs in them. And I climb into there, and it's covered with wood chips as a mulch, as a ground cover, and it was like kind of soft. And so I like made a bed there in between these tall like fountain grass or something. And I was quite cozy and comfortable. The weather was decent. It wasn't cold. It was October, I think. It was quite warm. And so I'm laying there, and I'm starting to doze off, and all of a sudden I start feeling raindrops. Oh no! And so I had like a blanket covered over me. And I pulled the blanket, and it turns out the sprinklers came on. And so I jump out of there, and so I end up wandering around downtown, and it's like there's like some hard thugs, walking around too. I'd see these people, they look kind of rough. They're coming towards me. I go across the street, and try to avoid them. And I make my way to convention center where I'm going to start work. I had to be there like 5 or 5:30 in the morning. And so I get there like 3 in the morning, and I'm like, well, where am I going to stay, And I see security coming, and I quickly jump into these bushes, and I just stayed there. I just like leaned against the wall in the bushes, and I tried to close my eyes, and I stayed there until 5 in the morning, and then I got out and went to work. I did that kind of stuff all the time through my career because I had to make like a certain amount of money for us to live on, and this was the only way. One time I did a job, and for like 3 days I almost didn't even eat. I didn't have enough money for food. It was brutal.